right, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins here a little bit. This is a team we are all very well aware of the fact they are one of the top contenders, not just in their division, but frankly, the entire AFC. They're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. But we've seen over the past few weeks and months that some of their other potential contenders, whether they're in the division or outside the division, AFC, have been dominating the headlines. But according to this new report we have, Dolphins fans should get really excited because this team has went out and changed their biggest weakness into a potentially massive strength. I think they solved their biggest problem, and Dolphins fans will be really excited to learn more about this.
Yeah, Nick, I think that this report about the Dolphins, the fans are going to love it. Whenever you can take something that's consistently a weakness and quickly turn it around and make it into a strength without spending a ton of draft capital, a ton of salary cap dollars, getting major free agent signings, that is good news. The Dolphins fans are going to love that. But before we get into the defense or the offense and how it made themselves a little bit better, let's go back to history and talk about the offense side of the ball, specifically the running back position. I want to ask the Dolphins fans in the comments below, who is your favorite Dolphins running back of all time? There's a lot of really great answers there, so make sure to think about it for a second and let us know in the comments below, who's your favorite Dolphins running back of all time? Nick, I like to make sure everyone's tuned in today's video. Hear word from our partner, Neuro. We love to take their mint gum right before the show. They have a lot of great products, give you quick, easy boost of energy, help you stay on task, grind through it, make sure that you can get the stuff you need to get done. So make sure to stay tuned to the end of the show to hear about more of Neuro's products and to get your hands on our discount code. But nonetheless, Nick, what is the latest news? What is this big improvement the Dolphins?
Yeah, so let's pull right into this report. We had a good 2-minute teaser in, so let's get into this meat of the bones here that will get Dolphins fans excited. We all know Miami brought in defensive coordinator Vic Fangio to help shore up a 6th worst pass defense last season, and it looks like Fangio is well on his ways to doing that. Cameron Wolf over at NFL mentioned that Fangio is going to be running a lot more zone. He's going to be implementing his schemes, which is going to be a huge turnaround for this Miami Dolphins defense. You don't have to take our word for it. Historical precedent proves it. The report from SportsIllustrated.com kind of highlights it. I'll read from it now. In his first year, this is going through Vic Fangio's career. In his first year at linebackers coach for the New Orleans Saints in 1986, defensive coordinator for the Colts in 1999, special assistant to the head coach, defensive assistant for the Ravens in 2006, defensive coordinator for the 49ers in 2011, defensive coordinator for the Bears in 2015, and head coach of the Broncos 2019. Here we go. Each team's defense improved its ranking by 10.5 places, 10.5 spots, in both points allowed and total yards allowed. I'm going to repeat that. They improved by, on average, 10.5 spots in both points given up and yards given up. That is a cataclysmic. That is a massive difference. Rounding out the numbers, Fangio joined teams that were averaging 20th in points allowed and 22nd in yards allowed, and those teams went to 9th in points allowed and 12th in yards allowed. So what did they do? They went from a bottom third defense, one of the bottom 10, 11, 12 defenses in the NFL. Vic Fangio shows up no matter where he was in his NFL career, going back to the 1980s, going back to the Reagan administration, he was able to turn bottom third defenses into top third defenses. That's what this guy does, Miles. And here's the breakdown of that specifically, what he was able to do. In New Orleans in 1986, the Saints were 24th in yards allowed. They improved to 14th. The Colts in 1999 went from 29th to yards allowed to 15th. Again, massive jump. Terrible to good. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, they went from 5th in yards allowed in 2006 to 1st, led the NFL. 2011, the 49ers went from 13th to 4th, top 5. They were an average defense, made them top 5. And the Bears in 2015, they were 30th in yards allowed. They were terrible. 14th, upper half of the NFL, great jump. And finally, the Denver Broncos, they were 22nd in yards allowed. They improved to 12th with Vic Fangio's arrival. Miles, we know this Miami Dolphins team has the offensive talent. They have the offensive mindset. They added some key guys in playmaking positions in the draft. We covered them in our previous videos about the Dolphins. I think what Vic Fangio is going to bring to the table, we've already talked about the zone coverages he's going to implement and things like that. This defense is going to be a lot better than I think a lot of people realize, and they're going to need it in a brutal AFC that's stacked at the quarterback position. From Burrow to Mahomes, now to Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, you can go down the list, Trevor Lawrence, a lot of great quarterbacks in this conference. And the Miami Dolphins, early this offseason, saw it coming. They went out and brought in Vic Fangio. He is the solution to that problem. I think this report shows that the Dolphins are going to be an even better team, an even tougher opponent than their biggest rivals in the AFC even understand at this point. Miles, give me your thoughts on this report here for the Dolphins.
Nick, I think this is awesome, and I think it's going to make the Dolphins immediately better. And there's a few ways that Fangio likes to do that. And one is to take less responsibility off of the players. Traditionally, older schemes will have players in a two-gap style of system where they have to pay attention to two gaps. Fangio kind of condenses that in the style of defense he runs, and they have a new defensive line that has a gap and gap and a half, responsibility. So it kind of shortens the list of things that they have to check on, the amount of things that they have to look at while they're playing, and they can kind of rush through. They can play much faster. They can get to the ball much faster. And I think when you're able to play faster on the defensive side of the ball, you immediately get better. And this is going to play to the Dolphins' strength. Quickening up that defensive line, guys like Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer, who are definitely the studs on this Dolphins defense. They're very good players as well, Nick. And on the flip side of that, Nick, Fangio's scheme also likes to drop, the strong side outside linebacker down to the line of scrimmage, and he becomes that pass rusher. They scoot the D lineman over to the weak side of the line, and a guy like Bradley Chubb can really, feast in those kind of situations. We know how great of a pass rusher Chubb has been as well, but I really think that the condensing of the gap scheme coverage that Fangio's defense allows players to do, allows them to play faster, be more aggressive, go after the quarterback a little bit better. I think this is the real improvement the Dolphins are going to make here, and I think we're going to see it very early on, that this huge jump that Fangio has been known for to put teams up a third or more in the rankings is going to be very evident in the very first few games of the season.
In mind, I want to end on this point. You brought up the point playing fast. That's an outstanding thing to bring up because this team has talent. They obviously brought in Jalen Ramsey. They have the defensive lineman you mentioned. They've got some key players. You just need to take less of the weight off their shoulders and let them be the good players they are. Because this is a team last season that had the fourth worst interception total. That's 8 picks. You switch to a Vic Fangio zone coverage. You take away a lot of the thinking off the defensive players. You let the defensive linemen run wild. What happens? Turnovers start coming. That's the way it works in the NFL. You got players being reactive instead of trying to think about doing too many things. They got too many responsibilities under the prior regime. New defensive coordinator. They just get to focus on their job and focus on being aggressive and making plays. You're going to see their yardage they give up go down. The points they go down. You're also going to see a massive spike in interceptions and turnovers by this defense. And if I'm a Dolphins fan, I already was excited by the addition of Vic Fangio and some of these other key pieces on defense. But I think this report highlights how much better they're probably going to be, most likely going to be. In fact, I'll say it right now, they're definitely going to be better on defense in 2023. And that means they're even more dangerous than people realize.
All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.